Hello everyone, and now we're having the panel session. The panel talk about how to choose the right hyper-casual publisher. This is quite a broad topic, but anyway, there are specifics that every speaker can share. We have three speakers here. Nemanja Divjak, founder of Time Games, Carol Zimola, I'm sorry if I'm mistaken in the pronunciation, CEO at Orbital Knight, Anastasia Skirtopodis, lead producer at Lightneer OI, and Maxim Melnik, co-founder and CEO at 24Play. So here you are. Please start your talk.
I'm sorry, there's no Maxim right now, but I'm here. I'm Anton, producer of 24Play. Yeah, unfortunately, Maxim can't attend today. Yeah, so let's go.
Awesome. Thanks, Olga, for the introductions, and welcome everyone to the how to choose the right publisher panel. I would like to take things easy to start with, and have a really short kind of introduction, or including, do you currently work with a publisher, and if you're working with more than one publishers, and how long has it been that you have been kind of working with publishers? I guess I'll just take the order of going from top left all the way down. So Karol, you can start.
Okay, so I'm Karol. I'm the CEO of Orbital Knight. Orbital Knight was founded in 2012, so it's almost nine years since we're doing games. We started with self-publishing, and basically we started with good relationship with Apple back in the day when features meant something. And our first, I guess, 3 games, Star Horizon, Kick Arena, and Kick Arena World, were quite a big successes. But then the iOS 11 came and the features stopped working. So that's when we started looking for publishers. And since 2 years, we've been working exclusively with Voodoo on hyper casual. We released 3 hit games with them. That's Castle Wreck, Crazy Kick, and recently Force Master. And also recently we started working on with Apple Arcade. We just a few weeks ago we released our first game with them. It's called Spire Blast. Like the whole studio, the portfolio downloads is well over 100 million downloads to this date. So from what I heard, we just focus on one publisher, Voodoo, and from what I heard, it's a different strategy from you guys. So I think it's going to be a nice discussion here.
Cool. Nemanja, you're next up.
Okay, hi guys. So I'm Nemanja from Time Games. We started working on games about 5 years ago in 2016. We initially started with casual game, and we tried to publish it, unfortunately, with one publisher. We will talk a little bit about bad stuff, but then in 2016-17 we approached Voodoo, and we started working exclusively with Voodoo over the course of 2019 and 2018-2019, and during that period we published one game, Volley Beans, with Voodoo, and after our exclusive contract ended, we started working with another publisher. We tested with Homa Games, and we developed a game called Pancake Art that currently has about 45 million downloads. And in 2020, we initially worked or tested some of older games with multiple publishers, but the core of the partnership is currently with Voodoo. So yeah, we're working with Voodoo every single month and constantly working with them.
Excellent. Anton, what's your experiences?
So 24Play is a studio. I guess it's one of the biggest studios in Europe, especially Eastern Europe. So we have like 27 guys in our team, top notch and growing. Also, we're working with 11, I guess, publishers. And initially, this was the model that we started with. So we never wanted to, get exclusive with somebody, but we would prefer to collect expertise from everyone, from all the markets that we can get to. So that's about 24 Play, and I am the producer here.
Fantastic, interesting stories and different approaches. At this point, listening to all you guys kind of setting your past with publisher relationships, I would like to ask, what is the reason in the first place to go with the publishers versus kind of like starting to try on your own? I guess we can follow the same order and mix it up as we go in case somebody wants to kind of add something to something that somebody else said. We can do it that as well. That way, feel free to start.
Sure. So I can go ahead. So I think I've mentioned it already a bit. So we initially, like it's in our case, it's a bit of a unique story because we were in our beginnings we were kind of spoiled by Apple and Google by having pretty good relationship with them. So it made us like we've made some bad habits, I would say, that we didn't invest in any UA. So we did our game scaled like just purely organic. And in case of like Kicker in the World, we got like 1 million downloads within the first week without any spend. So at that time it was huge, and like to me there was no point in like buying users when we were getting them for free, right? So but things have changed, like once the new App Store came to be, like the features and the organic traffic deteriorated. So at that point we decided like that there's really no point in us learning how to do UA and marketing. Like there's two factors, right, that you have to consider. One is like know-how, and the other one is especially when you're doing hyper casual, you need to do like big investments in UA. So that's why we decided to go with a partner, like, and because we wanted to focus on what we do best, and that's like game development, right? And we wanted to share like the risks with some guys that know how to market and scale games. And like after a brief market research, we thought like the Voodoo is the right partner to work on hyper casual, and it worked. I think that was a pretty good call. After I think 2018 was one of the worst years in our careers. That was like the end of our self-publishing approaches. And then when we started to work with those guys, we immediately came back. And I think those 2 last years are the best years in our history.
What about you guys, Nemanja?
Okay, so initially, I think that the market was telling you if you don't go with the publisher, you can't succeed. So I think that analogy was taken by us initially. We tried first to offer a game to like 30, 40 publishers. Nobody responded. And then one publisher decided to publish the game, but they did no UA. They were hoping for, as Carol said, getting feature on App Store. And actually, we did get a feature on App Store, but the same day iPhone 10 got released, and because the game was not optimized for iPhone 10, we got removed immediately. So the game made no money. And then we continued working on other games. We tried to test. We didn't have enough funding, and we reached out to probably 50, 60 publishers. And the only one who responded at that point was Voodoo. We started working with Voodoo because they had the know-how, and as he said, they had really lucrative both contracts, and on top of that, they had expertise and ability to push the game. And compared to the previous publisher, they gave you financial security by, if they publish the game, there will be some amount of money that they're risking, which didn't happen in a previous publisher. And then we started working with them. We started having really good meetings every single week. We started learning, improving, and that continued. So when we talk about should we go with a publisher or not, I think definitely if you are starting, publisher is a must. One of the best publishers is definitely, from my perspective, Voodoo. We did work with 7 or 8 publishers. That we did tests. Let's put it like that. And when you see how each publisher is working, you immediately see the difference. To give an example, Voodoo and Homa Games, they have really good processes for testing, publishing, and everything. But for example, ByteDance is terrible. That is pure terrible. Also, we had unfortunate event to work with Ubisoft. That was also terrible. They immediately took the IP of the game. They ran a test one day and they gave 0 answer about what happened with the game. They just told us the game is done. It's not going to work. That's it. No information, no data, nothing. So when you decide to work with a publisher, they need to be transparent and open. And Voodoo was definitely that for us. So that's why we decided to go with them.
Fantastic. What about you guys, Anton?
Well, our company was created like a year ago, so we've jumped straight into hyper casual. And basically, why do you need to publisher in the hyper casual market? Because they have budgets to test games. Even $50 for, I don't know, 4 games a month for a growing studio is something at least. And once you're going to scale it, you need money. So anyway, they'll be able to invest, at least on the marketing side. And also they can give you some expertise because they test, like, I don't know, hundreds of games each month and you don't. And in case you fail, they can tell you why you fail. And basically that's it. So also, like, yeah, self-publishing is something you could do, but you have to know how to do it, basically. And usually game developers don't. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. I can add one more thing to that. Like once your game hits the scales and like it enters top 10, like I don't know if everybody's aware of that, but you need to spend like tens of thousands of dollars to keep it there in top 10. And even if you're a game development studio, and even if you can afford that, like then you need to remember that working with a publisher is prepared to put that kind of money even before they know that they will get a return on that investment. And for you as a publisher, they are prepared, to take a loss, to take a hit on that. Mm-hmm. And you as a small publisher, probably not, even if you accumulate that, that kind of budget. You probably will have a hard time you would need to accumulate it at least for a couple games like that, and be prepared to take a couple hits before you finally find the right one. So that's also something to consider.
Yeah, when we were talking about funding for UA and testing, since we did self-publishing, one of the things that I mentioned in the backstage was actually you have access to pretty large capital, literal hundreds of thousands of dollars from ad networks, but you have to request that. And many game developers don't know that. For example, we have $100,000 monthly limit on Facebook UA, and we can pay that money in 60 days. So that's one of the things that many game developers don't know. And also that can happen with other ad networks if you have game that makes sense to scale. So many developers don't know that. but the publishers do know. So that's one of the key things. Even the publishers, let's say Voodoo has money right now, but probably at some point they also did UA on credits, and probably some others. So
what is the fee for such a loan when it comes to an ad network? So
no fee. You just get spending limit. You can spend certain amount of money per month, and you have to pay it next month. So how does that work? Let's say you spend 10,000 euro this month, and your game makes 13,000. Next month, when you receive payment from other ad networks, you pay that 10,000 and you keep 3,000.
And where are they getting money for them?
They give you credit. So basically, you wait for the money from ad networks before you pay the user acquisition.
Mm-hmm. And there is no fee or commission?
No. You need to negotiate that. With Facebook, you can open a line of credit. I think the other ad networks also do that. But you have to understand that you need to be prepared to spend a lot of money if the game is working, because they are hoping that you're going to spend 100,000 euro every single month and scale it to $1 million. For example, we worked with Facebook Growth Team that requires us to spend $500,000 in 3 months in order for them to work directly with us. And if you don't have a game that can scale, it would be loss of the money, and that you would have to cover at some point. So it's really important to know that you have a hit game, and the publishers will definitely manage to scale it. But if you have a game that does not get published by publisher and you really think it has really good numbers, there is always a way to find user acquisition funding. Also, there are companies like Clearbank. There is also, my brain is currently not working, but there are companies that provide UA funding. So let's say you spend $10,000 this week, the game makes $7,000. On a Monday next week, you're going to have $6,000 in your bank to spend again. So they can help you scale it. So there are multiple models, but that requires
leverage.
You have to know, you have to have people to do that. And as a developer, most of us don't scale marketing teams, and it does not make sense to do something like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Interesting information, and actually part of the conversations that have been going on so far. I have covered a number of the questions that I am prepared to ask you guys, but I think one that still stands strong is actually the one which is kind of working with a publisher, particularly on the hyper-casual genre. And if actually the hyper-casual, it's getting a bit philosophical at this point, but I think it's worth noting that, like, how has hyper-casual the genre affected the relationship of studios, developers with publishers? Meaning, we all know there was a way 5 years back that developers and studios were interacting with publishers, and slowly but steadily, I think from my side that the way that the interaction happens between studios and publishers has changed in its nature, and also the expectation on behalf of studios and developers has actually changed. So for all it's worth, anyone who wants to go first, I'd be happy to hear your opinions on this topic.
I can also talk, but Carol, you're the first.
Okay, so let me say a few words. I think it changed for the better, in my opinion. So back in the day when we were launching our first game, Star Horizon, we had we almost released it with a publisher. Maybe I won't name them because we had to cancel the contract because they were missing payments. They are out of the business right now, but it was. I had the impression that back then it was there was no real balance between developer and publisher. They were basically taking a cut to go to Apple and pitch the game, and you either get a get featured or not. They were taking no risks, basically, right? And so I think it was pretty unfair, especially since you you could approach Apple and Google on your own, and like they had open channels, like it was no big secret how to do it. So, and I think right now you are like better informed what you're getting out of relationship with the publisher, and I think it's more clear and fair. Like you as a developer, your role is just to make a game, focus on gameplay, and publisher is there to take the risks when scaling the game and share their marketing expertise. So, and I think like the explosion of hyper casual, explosion of studios made the publishers try harder, I think. I'm not sure if that's the case, but that's my impression at least. So like the relationships are much better. And right now, if you are like, if you have like if you have a few at least prototypes on your account, you'll get like lots of publishers knocking on your door and asking for games, right? So. Yeah. So I think it's all for the best.
Yeah, as you said, for example, I'm being reached out every single day by other publishers. And unfortunately, we don't have capacity to work with all of them. And I'm kind of already kind of ashamed because I keep telling them, hey, but we are already busy. We're working with others. And from time to time, when the game expires, I do decide, okay, let's test it. But unfortunately, when Voodoo says the game will not work, usually the other publishers won't 100% be able to scale it also. But the difference is, for example, when we started working with Voodoo, communication was not really there. We were talking with them, but it was to a Slack channel from time to time. You know, we send a bill, they say, okay, they test. But now, the publishers like Voodoo invested in PMs who really dig into the games, and you really have full communication with them. And we have every single week meetings with them, talk with them, discuss the ideas. We discuss ideas now even on a paper or in a head, whatever. But they are giving us a lot of information, what is trending right now, because they see the numbers, they see data, and they're trying to help us to get to that hit game because we both benefit. And as Carol said, in the past, we had the same publisher approach who basically wanted to profit the game from App Store partnership by sending an email and getting a feature. So that was unfortunately in the past. We all knew that, but we knew we won't get a response from Apple, right? But definitely, I don't want to talk bad about any publisher, but the Voodoo was the only who had balls to offer the money, to work with them, to risk some amount of money for us to get a hit. And that was not the case with many other publishers. They understood that we need to live. We need to have some kind of revenue income in order to be able to focus on a game development. And as soon as that started, our 11th game was a hit. Then a third game was a hit. And we had last year at least 3 games that could have been hit, very close numbers, but we are still continuing and testing, and the next hit will come. It's just a matter of tests, number of games that you develop, the prototypes, and the better you become, the faster you prototype, the faster the publisher tests it and gives the feedback, the faster you can get to the hit. That's my perspective.
Awesome. Anton, you want to have a go?
Yeah, sure. So in case we're talking about how hyper-casual really influenced basic studio and publisher relations, well, you can take a look at PC now or something like that. You know, these relations are really different in different genres. So in case you want to do a new MH3 or something like that, probably you're going to have to spend a lot of time to get a publisher, and also this publisher will totally lead you and dictate you some terms and etc. And in case we're talking hyper casual, this is a genre where actually developer takes the lead in this partnership because he's generating ideas and etc. Because the publishing house can be really as large as the amount of developers there are on Earth. So just to generate ideas, you have to be really open to everyone, and you want to make everyone feel comfortable to generate new ideas. And in case we're talking about other genres, it's totally different.
That's true.
Great. I think there are some collective experiences here that are signing through, some common threads that I can sense. Next up, again, taking a pass from this discussion and setting aside a little bit kind of the philosophical aspect of how the relationship of studios and publishers has changed. And going back to the original topic of this panel, I would say, at some point you have to decide. I know Nemanja mentioned that he has talked with a lot of publishers before deciding, and Karol has had similar experiences. And I guess backstage we were talking also with Anton that you guys work with a lot of different people. So if we play this game, that there is a list that you're going through, right? And there's different publishers, and you've had an intro call with them. Are there any, already at that stage, are there any kind of, red flags that, according to the experience that you guys have gathered so far, would deem the time spent on that call? Likewise, the other side of the coin, are there certain things that you experience in these intro calls and these kind of introductions with different publisher representatives that actually give you a good feeling and a sense of security to take you to the next step? We can kind of start the other way around just to mix things up a bit. So Anton, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So my brain is not working, so the question was about...
No worries. I can repeat that one.
Yeah, don't repeat it.
It's been a long day for everyone. So, let's say that you have
some pictures. I remember it. So, actually, an intro call wouldn't give you much info, and you can't see a red flag right there. But what you can do is to test a game, just one game with every publisher there is. So I'll be happy to test it out and see how the processes are looking there. So you can see how fast can they test it, what's their feedback on it, how fast was it delivered, what are their ideas to make it better, how do you in general feel about the communication. So you just have to test them all out, and after that you can decide on what's your best fit, because publishers are really different in a lot of ways, and developers are different too. And all you need to do is to find the correct one. That's as simple as that.
Yeah, as Anton said, definitely you have to test to see how the process is working. But one of the first red flags that maybe you can notice is, do you have some kind of energy with them, with the people who are on other side? Also, the problem is, for example, I did talk with the ByteDance publishing team. Their English was terrible. So most of the communication was really not 100% understood. We got, then when the test was done, we didn't get any data. We had no idea what was the CPI. We don't know what was the day one. They immediately went on integrating their SDK inside of it, which was on Chinese. So it was very complex for us to do. And also some of the publishers immediately pushed the contract to you. We did, it wasn't Ubisoft. Ubisoft bought them. I can't remember which was the publisher at this point, but they were focusing on idle games. They immediately put their hand on IP of the game. And the idea was ours, and they took the IP. So that's one of the red flags, definitely. then it all depends on the path where you want to go. One of the things that initially happened to us when we signed the contract with Voodoo 3 years ago, maybe I should not be going directly into that, but I have to talk about because of the NDAs, right? But the thing is, we were exclusive, but then Voodoo changed that. So they opened up. They gave us ability to test the games with others, but we still have that deep connection with them because they helped us get here where we are now, right? So it's not just about the money anymore. We are generating revenue, but that connection that you create with a publisher, as Carol said, they're exclusively working with Voodoo. Why? Because they have 3 hit games with them. They generate a lot of revenue. They know exactly what their job to do, and Voodoo knows exactly what's theirs. So that energy that you get with a publisher is definitely important thing. And let's put it in a realistic way. We worked with 2 or 3 publishing managers inside of Voodoo, but actually the one that we're working with now, when they replaced him, we got angry and we wanted him back. And he's been with us for a year and a half because the other PM was not performing as this one, and we really liked him. And that I know that the publishers usually tend to change PMs, right? But sometimes staying with somebody because you have a trust, you understand how he thinks, you understand what his ideas are, you understand when he is free or not. He learns who you are. They visited us in Serbia. We went on a dinner with him. I don't want to mention him right now because I don't. He knows who he is if he's watching. But the thing is, it's about people relationship also. When you create a deep connection with a certain publisher and certain people inside of that company, everything becomes much easier. And you have to have a little bit of gut feeling. And one of the important things is, did they have hit games? If they're promising you that they can publish your game, but I had that chance. They were promising to publish the game, and then I go into their app account, and there on a Google Play there's like 1,000 installs per game, and I'm like, guys, I'm buying 20,000 users on my own, so it does not make sense, to work with somebody. So first thing, try from the top, go down if they refuse you, but I don't think any publisher is going to refuse you if you have solid development, and they all have their business models connected to amount of studios that can develop the games. So the more teams they have, the more quality teams, let's put it like that, they have a relationship with, they can be more successful. So from my perspective, because I did talk with a lot of publishers, I can sense sometimes the red flags, but I think that you have to talk with a lot of people to figure out. It's same with the girls, If you talk with 100 girls, you will know which one is yes, which one is no, right? Same goes in a business.
I was about to mention like guitars or something. Before you buy one, you like always the advice from people who are seasoned is like, go to the store and try them out. But yeah, this is a good analogy. Carol,
let's go to the shoes, right? You can try a few shoes and figure out which one is best.
Yes. Carol?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of has been said already. So I think I can put it through another lens. Is you should one of the most important things that you should look in a publisher is transparency. I mean, you're looking for a true partnership, and somebody that's gonna work towards win-win solutions. It's not gonna work otherwise, right? So another thing that puts a doubt on transparency should be a red flag. For instance, before we, I won't name that publisher. Probably they might change the contract already. I don't know. But before we started working with Voodoo, we had some discussions with other publishers. There was one publisher that showed us a contract, and they told us, it's negotiable. The contract is negotiable, and then we found like I don't know, a number of paragraphs, like one of like rights of first refusals. If you should see a right of first refusal in a contract, that should be a red flag. In that case, the right of first refusal, it means that if you do a hit game with them, then if you work on another game, you should go through them first. So basically, they kind of own you without buying you. So you should be, really careful about that. And it was, and with Voodoo, it was completely different. Like we were raising some issues towards the contract, and they were, patiently implementing those changes. I mean, looking at it right now, we lost a lot of time on that, but then again, it was, a really sign of goodwill from them, and it was, a welcome change. So that was something that, from our perspective, looked like, those guys are treating it seriously. They have nothing to hide. They are really open. So because once you start working with publishers, a publisher, you're going to share a lot of data, and also you expect them to share data. You expect them to share, info on how other games went, what are the cool ideas, what could you be doing, what shouldn't you be doing. So you expect transparency, right? And you expect partnership. So anything that puts a doubt on that should be a red flag.
As Carol said, we're working with Voodoo, so it's kind of same thing as he's saying. We are also experiencing. It's not that Voodoo is one of the sponsors of this event, but actually they are definitely number one because they're doing something good. It's not about just being a publisher. They're really doing something good, and that's why they are number one from my perspective.
I think an interesting meta fact, listening to everybody kind of, taking bits and nuggets from each answer, is the fact that at least in the hyper casual genre, one thing which is unique to publishers is the ability to see a lot of different games. And it goes into kind of like earlier, Nemania's answer on that, they can help you out when you're starting, and everybody agreeing to that, I believe. Because they can, meaning we have, each one of us has visibility to their own development. Maybe, you check out the app stores regularly and in the Play Store, and you try different hyper casual games, but you don't see all the things that get tested every day and they don't work out. And this is something that's kind of like, if I may take, if I may put on the hat of answering the question as well. This is something quite important to get from a publisher. Now, I mean,
one thing to note. I wanted to add one more thing, just that not all games that you see in top charts are making money. That's also one thing you should consider. If you're looking and judging games only by the top charts, you might get the wrong picture, and a publisher can help you with that, help you, filter those games.
That's a very excellent remark there. Now, I mean, in order to have enough time to reach the $1 million question, I have a quick round for everyone. If you guys want to play this short game with me, which is like name one excellent experience and one bad experience you had with, or like, I mean, I don't want to dare the best experience and the worst experience and put you guys with your back against the wall, but a really good experience and a really bad experience you've had with a publisher, any publisher, could be Voodoo, could be with anyone. I don't know, Nemanja, just to mix things up, you want to go first?
The amazing experience was the moment when after, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 games, Voodoo offered us pre-financing. So basically they offered to help us to continue working by giving us a little bit amount of money to focus on the game development, because we were basically doing outsourcing and doing game development. So in 2018, when Voodoo offered, for me, that was like, oh my God, unbelievable. And the bad experience, unfortunately, is with another publisher who took the game and didn't do anything with it. So that's the bad experience, right? So we invested time, we invested 2 years, they took the game, they did nothing with it, and we basically lost about $50,000 if you calculate it in the development, if we only had $500 salary for 2 years, right? As a team. So basically, that was the learning curve. And in every business, you have to have bad and good sides. But that moment when Voodoo actually offered to help us in the development, just to put the disclaimer, it's recoupable. So they took that money back, right? So it's not that they just gave us the money. They took it was recoupable money, but it helped us start developing, hire additional people, and get to the hit game. So yes.
Awesome. Anton, you want to go?
Yeah. Well, I'd say I have a pretty different perspective because we haven't actually had like really bad stuff or super awesome stuff. We make decisions together with our publishers. So, and some of them are, I don't know, like we don't feel like we should do them or something like that. Let me tell it a bit more frankly. There isn't bad stuff or awesome stuff for me. It's more like it's a partnership, and everyone in this partnership wants to make a hit, and every decision is made for it. And that's it for me.
Yeah, I'm not dictating the way to answer the question. You guys can decide whichever way you want to answer it. It's just something like to kind of help people that are tuning in and listening to people who have actually had several experiences with publishers.
Yeah,
like, what are the nuggets of knowledge that can come out of this kind of like discussions. Karol, you want to have a go?
Yeah, so I guess I would say the best experience was releasing our first hit with Voodoo. It was Castle Wreck, and while it's not the biggest game we did with them, going through it for the first time, that was like it was really a roller coaster ride. Especially when you're launching a game, like things happen like super fast, like
super fast, yeah.
And you're in this mode, like you're pushing updates, doing A/B tests. I was super surprised by when you're testing a game. Voodoo is like super lean. They are like, there's like zero overhead, no documentation. You're just discussing stuff. And when when you launched the game, you got like checklists. Like you got like a big team of people, like with marketing. Everybody knows what they are doing. It's like in a Formula One pit stop, when you're going and changing tires, like everybody knows their job, and it's all like clockwork basically. So it was it was a really nice to see it from the inside. It wears out once you're doing it's the second or the third time, but for the first time, it was, I think we learned a lot there. For the past,
especially because you don't know everything what you need to do.
Yeah, you're doing it. You just have faith in them that they guide you. Especially, the time is critical, so you have to move fast. And I don't think we have like some really bad examples. I mean, the one that I already mentioned, like at the beginning of our career, we had this one publisher that, we had some minimal guarantees in the contract. They weren't paying it up, and thankfully we decided, to break the contract just before, the game was supposed to be released. Probably if we released it, we'd been in trouble. And since it was our first game, who knows, how things went on from there. But yeah, we had, thankfully we had the guts to back out from that relationship. So, but that was just the one case. it was pretty smooth from them.
Fantastic. So, like, I think in a lot of yes, Anton.
I also like to add to my answer that I just figure out that actually there is some bad and good stuff. So basically for us, the good stuff is a publisher sharing his market intel. It's awesome. Like anytime someone does it, awesome. Mostly it's something like weekly stuff. And the actually bad stuff is long feedbacks when you have to wait for some time. But I guess when you start to, getting closer with a publisher, it's not a problem anymore because they can spend more time on you. So yeah, this is good and bad stuff.
Really cool stuff, because like sometimes we don't take a step back to dig deep and kind of reflect on everything that's been going on all the time. We've been trying to find those elusive hyper casual hits. So I mean, that we've discussed so far actually combines towards the $1 million question, which is, I'll leave it open-ended and each one of you can decide to answer it any which way you guys want. But how do we actually, if like for the people that are, have tuned into this panel and if they would like to leave with one, thing to kind of keep in their mind if they're starting out or if they have had some bad experience, how do you go about? What is the right way of going about choosing and finding the right publisher? Carol, you want to go?
Yeah, so that's a really broad and complex question. I think we left a lot of hints, throughout this discussion. So just to reiterate, I think if I'd have to choose one, I would say like go for transparency. Like look at publishers through that lens, and anything that's suspicious and should be a red flag. And especially if there are some bumps on the road in the early days, that does mean something, right? So but there is no one answer here probably. I think it's also a good idea, to just go and test and see for yourself. Just I like the idea of those iterations and this cycle of testing, getting feedback, and then making decisions based on that feedback. And it works on so many levels. Like it works when you're prototyping and testing hyper casual, but it also works, when you're doing business deals, doing small steps, testing, like maybe go with each publisher, like do one game, one prototype with them and see how it works. So, but, keep in mind the big picture, that you're basically looking for a true partner and somebody that's, going to embrace and work towards win-win situations.
As Carol said, one of the things that I would say if somebody is just starting and wants to find the publisher, first thing is make sure that you're actually making the game that is good. Because investing time and searching publisher with a bad game is going to be a waste of time. Then before you reach out the publisher, invest $100, run just test ads and try to see the numbers of the game. So integrate game analytics, Facebook SDK, just test $50 to see the numbers. And if you see that the game has numbers, then start reaching out to publishers. You can start by going to top publishers like Voodoo, Supersonic, Crazy Labs, Homa Games, and others. You can just go with them. But one thing that you have to make sure is to ask them to release the game from the contract testing period contract, if that's the only game that you have, because the publishers tend to prevent you to test the game with other publishers for a certain amount of time. So make sure if you go into the test and you have only one game and you're not 100% sure that that publisher is 100% best fit, just make sure to have a way out in order to be able to test with others. But as Carol said, it's a business decision. So try to find the best potential publisher, and if you're ready to go all in with them. But make sure that you have really good game. I sent, I think, about 50 emails before one publisher responded, but that was almost 3 years ago. Nowadays, I think that every single publisher has some kind of submit game dashboard where you can test the game and find the one that looks best for you. Talk with the people. You don't have to sign anything, and before you test, make decision who is potentially the best option. You're seeing that usually Voodoo is top of the one of the top publishers, but usually Voodoo is also searching for top games. So as I said, be real with yourself, because Voodoo will not take games with solid numbers, but for example, Homa games will take. And the difference is the game that was published by Homa Games would never be published by Voodoo. And the both games made money. So that's what I have to say.
Awesome.
And yeah, actually, it was a great answer. I'm not really sure what I would love to add here. In case you have a game that's good, well, it depends on what you're looking for. In case you want to, fund your development for a studio, that's one case. In case you have a game that's already has some perspectives, another case. Well, the last case was Old Money Mania. And also, in case you have these test results, you can actually trade with the publisher for some better terms, because you already have, like, let's say, a little hit, and it's better even for publisher to get some money than not to. Other stuff was already told by you guys. Amazing.
Okay, so
Awesome.
just to sum up, thank you guys. Just to sum up, on the today's market, we have plenty of publishers with beneficial propositions for various genres and with various requirements. So you just go and try and test and choose the one based on your own true story. And no doubt that all top publishers have enough expertise and they know what they do. Anyway, thank you for your great discussion, guys. Thanks everyone for watching, and hoping that other developers will adopt your insights and recommendations and make the happy casual market grow further. So it was an honor for us to host so many cool experts, and keep up the great job, and see you soon. I wish you to make tons of killer hits this year. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. It was a nice talking to you.
Thank you.